So what do we do now? If we want to get the social protection back on the scene in a prominent way, which we didn't get in 2000 and in 1999, we need to make it a UN initiative. Because the price we paid in the ILO for taking it over and putting it into an ILO, a recommendation was that the rest of the UN system disowned it de facto. They all pay lip service, but nobody does anything about it. And our friends in the World Bank fight it. Right? But we made it an ILO instrument because that was the only way to get it in writing, accepted by the global community, and give it the credibility that it needed. But now we're there without friends, or we have a lot of friends and relatives that say, yes, yes, you did well, but nobody does anything about it, right? And the new process is, let's put it in one word, messy. Last time it was a handful of bureaucrats who agreed on something. Nobody knew it was developed. It would develop into a major benchmarks for development. And now we have a participatory process on the surface. And all the UN agencies have understood that if they're not in the target, if they're not in a goal, if their personal or their individual objective, like universal health for all, is not there for WHO, money will go elsewhere. So they're all fighting their turf. And nobody thinks about social protection as a coherent concept, except the ILO. But this is the process. I know I have to finish. There's an open working group. There was a high-level panel who came up with a report. Don't read it, it's not worth it. Then the open working group here. That is actually a group of governance that negotiated a draft for the new development goals. Then we have a UNDG consultations. We had a UN task team looking at that. We have a special advisor to the UN Secretary General on the new development goals. If you look at the process, it doesn't seem to have a logic. It doesn't. It simply, I don't see it. Maybe somebody sees it. But where we are at the moment is here. We have a report of the open working group. The timeline looks like this. We have something here in July 2014, accepted in September 2014, which is a draft for the new development goals. And now the government negotiations will start, which in a larger group here somewhere in the beginning of the end of 2014 to the beginning of 2015. Negotiations start, everybody lobbies, right? So what the draft says at the moment is the following. It has, now this is the result of the participatory process is we have 17 possible goals, 166 targets, and yet an uncertain level of indicators we mentioned which may never come, right? So social protection, interestingly, made it into a goal on poverty, and largely, very prominently, where's the health one here, right? And the formulation is the following. In the targets here, it says poverty target 1.3, implement nationally appropriate, where are we? Implement national appropriate social protection systems and measures for all, including floors, by 2013 achieve substantial coverage of the poor and the vulnerable. So what is it that they want? Want they a system for all, or substantial coverage for the poor and the vulnerable? What is substantial coverage? Huh? Simply saying we want a floor for all by 2013, for God's sake, and it is affordable and it can be done. It says, oh, we want a system for all, measures for all, whether that is complete, comprehensive, creating security, we don't know. And then we achieve substantial coverage by the poor and the vulnerable. Substantial means what? One more than today or two? Or what? 3.8, the health people did better. They said achieve universal health coverage, including financial risk protection, access to quality and essential health services. access to safe, effective, quality, and affordable essential medicines, vaccines by all. Target 3.8. So this is 1/4 of the floor. This is the other 3/4 of the floor. One floor is a little hopeful. 1/4 is a little hopeful. 3/4 are a little iffy. Okay? My last slide. Last but one. My conclusion from the process is all our governments, all our stakeholders, all civil society have to get on their bicycles and lobby and say that target has to improve. We have to be more bold. We want security, a minimum level of a floor by all, for all, by 2030. Not some substantial coverage, not some appropriate measures. We want something for all. And don't tell us you can't do it. But if we need a plan B, here is the 5 points that I think civil society and the trade union should do. They should be monitoring on the national level and shame government into action if they don't live up to their SPF, to their social protection floor promises. That's what we can do, and it's underway. We are trying to design an index right now in a civil society working group. Then we should use the universal global consensus to put it into the post-2015 development agenda. It's underway, but as I said, it's very risky. We don't know where we're going. We may actually lose it. Then, on point 3, there should, and that's my big point, I think one of the weaknesses of the recommendation 202 is it remains an ILO instrument and a weak one. We need a UN convention on social protection floors. It can take 10 years, but the road's more important than the objective. We need to keep it on the agenda and on the discussion, and simply say to your governments and say, what we think is a UN convention, like the one for the rights of the disabled people, which are changing schools, which are changing people's lives actually, which is changing people's lives in very concrete situations. The European countries, they reform their schooling systems because of the UN Convention on the Rights of Disabled People. We need something as powerful. And it's more powerful even than the development goals. We should support, as civil society and trade unions, and we actually do, the Global Fund for Social Protection that the UN rapporteurs actually put together, the UN rapporteurs for the right to food and the human right, and what is it, the rapporteurs on poverty and on the right to food have actually proposed. And then 5, there's an international financial transaction tax, the long debate on the Robin Hood tax. I think we can support it and make the financial market pay for some of the mess that it created and help to fund a global fund for social protection that can support the introduction of schemes in countries that can't actually devote enough money to financing or instigating or creating their own system. I leave it here. So the message that I'm giving is, we're at a crucial point of global social governance when it comes to social protection. We haven't won yet, and there's a 50% chance that we lose, but there's a 50% chance that we win.